Welcome to The Friday Habit with Mark Labriola and Benjamin Manley. The Friday Habit is for small business owners, freelancers, and creatives who are ready to take their business to the next level. Join us as we discover how to apply the strategies we learned to grow our businesses, make more money, and live every day like it's Friday.
All right, everybody, welcome to the show. This is Ben Manley. Mark Labriola is not joining me today. Unfortunately, he is on a video shoot, but we have an awesome show anyway because I am interviewing Tim Redmond, and Tim is the CEO of Redmond Growth Consulting, has been growing highly successful businesses for over 35 years, including his work at PriceWaterhouseCoopers, growing a software company from 2 to 400 employees, selling it to Intuit, and helping thousands of business owners gain time and financial freedom. And Tim is also the author of a book called Power to Create, and he's a speaker whose leadership maxims have been featured in John Maxwell's 21 Irrefutable Laws of Leadership. Whew! Tim, welcome to the show. How's it going?
Big Ben. Hey, this is great. And yeah, it's something else what those people write about you when you pay them to write good stuff.
You're like, write something that makes me sound impressive, right? And you're like, all right, cool. That works.
Yeah.
I'll use that. Super happy to have you on the show. I'm really excited to jump into some things. I know we talked about, maybe we'll talk a little bit about teams and missing ingredients that mediocre teams lack and what high performance teams have that's a little bit different than those mediocre teams. I want to talk about that a little bit. But also, before we do that, more importantly, I need to ask you a question. Would you rather have a completely automated home or a self-driving car?
Well, a completely automated home or a self-driving car?
Yeah.
Which one? I have a Tesla right now. It's self-driving. So,
so you're like, I'm already living the dream. So you would pick the automated home, or are you just gonna?
We're actually automating our home. We're creating this Sonos ecosystem.
Okay.
And I'm buying more stuff than I'm over the budget or this pre-assigned amount I thought I was going to spend. I'm over it 4 times. So I don't know if anybody wants to listen to any financial advice I've got today.
Got it. You know, every time I try to automate something in my home, it just makes my wife more frustrated because I'm like, oh, I got this like cool, light bulb that turns on and off, and it's like, wait, I have to open an app to control the lights. Can I just like flip a switch? I think I'm just doing it wrong, but.
Yeah. I just went to my, one of my sons. I got 4 very above average children here, thanks to my wife. And my third son, 3 boys and a girl. My third son just moved in this apartment, and he's got everything automated with Alexa. And so he's got lights and temperature and all kinds of. I mean, it's really cool. Yeah. I mean, I was impressed. The best automation I have right now is I built like a treehouse in my backyard, and I put one smart bulb in it. I ran electric to it, and I have one smart bulb in the treehouse. So if the kids leave the light on, I can just be like, Siri, turn off the treehouse light, and that's the best automation I figured out. You feel like you've arrived here, at least.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. So, well, cool. Hey, I'm really glad you're here. I really wanted to kind of jump into learning some stuff about teams and advice you have around that. But also, I would love to get just a little bit of your background. It sounds like you've had a pretty interesting journey. I know, you sold this software company for multi-millions, and I mean, to me, I'm like, it kind of blows my mind. I'm like, okay, I don't even know how you get to that point. But I would love to just hear a little bit about your background, kind of like where you've been in your entrepreneurial journey. Maybe you can just give us kind of a little bit of background on that.
I love the journey I've had. It's a lot of success, a lot of pain. Success is really learning to manage and navigate the pain successfully. Gotcha. So I've got a lot of that too. But I don't start at PriceWaterhouseCoopers. I start being born into a very large family, one of the older kids, but mom and dad love sex or making babies or having babies and raising babies or something. But I'm one of 11 kids.
Man. That taught crazy.
Me more than any university class has taught me or any on-the-job training. It's like, especially at dinner time. But no, I was a CPA. I've always had an entrepreneur's heart. Worked with PriceWaterhouseCoopers for a bit, and then joined this software company at the very beginning, and we're both of us, the founder and myself, is kind of his right-hand man. we're both CPAs, and so we wrote CPA software and we grew it up. We grew it through direct mail, marketing.
Okay, wow.
We started out a couple thousand letters at a time, and we got to where we'd send out 400,000 pieces of mail 3 times a year, and they would create about 45,000 demos, what we call. And so, yeah, we grew it from zero to a $40 million a year company, sold it to Intuit, learned tons of stuff on that. Then I went around and we started a nonprofit where I spoke in business groups and pastors groups, government groups all over the world, and sharing about leadership development, how to grow your organizations. People would come up to me, Ben, afterwards and say, well, hey, do you offer coaching? I go, sure, what's your question? Sometimes I spend a half hour, 45 minutes with them, not realizing that there's these like multi-million-dollar coaching companies like we are now, they're out there, and I'm like throwing away all this opportunity. Well, so I finally switched. You kind of kept biting me in the rear or slapped me in the face, and I finally said, okay, let's focus where our main focus is on coaching, and let's do speaking. I came talking to a bunch of roofers here came back about 30 minutes ago talking to a bunch of roofers. So, yeah, love what I'm doing. Look, when you have, like, one of my favorite stories, I've got hundreds of these stories, but one is a guy that lives in Arkansas that builds sheds. All right, he had a $100,000 a month business, pretty good business, but he wasn't making any money. Paid himself $5,000 a month, no profits, and now he's got a $5 million a year business, basically $600,000 a month, and 15 to 20% profit. He was working 70 hours a week, no retirement, no nothing. He's 68 now, 2 years into it. He spends 3 weeks a month chasing his wife around a condominium in Florida, and then he comes back 1 week a month to run his company. And he's having a blast. He's got tons of money in his retirement. He's given to his church. He's given to some program, I think, that's helping kids that don't have dads, and just he's just living talking about living the dream. He's living the dream. So that's what I get up early in the morning to do. I love it.
Yeah, you're like, hey, who are the entrepreneurs out there that are like struggling? I mean, maybe they have something pretty good, but you're like, what if you could take it to this next level? I mean, that sounds like it's so awesome for him too. You said he's 68. What a great way to wrap up some of that part of your career, to be able to launch, something from where it was at to that. That's so cool.
Oh, I love it. Yeah.
Yeah, that sounds just very rewarding. I would love doing something like that. Well, do you mind if I want to kind of rewind for a second? When you said I'm really curious about your childhood, just a little bit. I'm just kind of curious if there's any ties you see, because I'm interested, like being one of 11 kids, where were you in that? I mean, I'm guessing
number
statistics.
4.
I was going to say statistics say you're going to be a middle child, because it's unlikely you're the first or the last, right? So out of 11, chances are you're not the oldest or youngest. So number 4.
You got 9/11ths of a chance of being in the middle somewhere.
Right, exactly. So number 4. Okay, cool. And do you, just even as a kid, whether it's related to how many siblings you had or not, was there anything as a kid that ties back that you're like, man, even as a kid, I was this way, or even as a kid, this, or anything that you had experienced as a kid that affected how you approach things now?
Well, there is a tenacity. I was very quiet. I was born with a complication, like a very severe cleft palate.
Oh, wow.
My parents were told I wasn't going to live beyond a week. So they rushed me to the priest to baptize me before I died. And then this guy actually announced a curse over me. Now, there's a lot of very good priests. I'm not down on the Catholic Church. Beautiful people, very devout, very good people. This guy just was not. He declared himself to be an atheist, I think months after he announced this curse over me. Said, this boy will never be a priest, and he'll never be a public speaker.
Whoa.
And because I've got, my mouth, my whole face is not together, and And so it was like I lived under that curse, and I was quiet and introverted, and I'd be so nervous I'd stutter, and had an accident when my brother died when I was 15. He was 16, and I wasn't expected to live through that, and I had to learn to read and write all over again. I know this is like,
wow.
Why am I getting? Because more than strategy, as important as it is, more important than marketing, more important than just about anything is just the tenacity and grit to get after it. I was a wrestler, and you work out so you can just defeat your opponent in the third period if it were before. So it's very, very tough. So it's just a pushing through that I learned as a child that is with me now. I never knew I was going to be speaking to people. It would have scared me to pieces, but I just spoke to a bunch of folks here and just got them laughing and had a good time. But
right.
That would be the one thing that just tenacity, grit. It's like move on or die. It's kind of extreme, but
wow.
That's kind of what I was left with. So.
Wow. Man, thanks for sharing that. Well, hey, maybe we can jump into some of the team-related stuff. I was really hoping to learn a little bit about, this really caught me, the idea of what's the missing ingredient that mediocre teams lack and high-performance teams embrace. And sometimes when I hear high-performance teams, it makes me nervous. It's like, as a leader, I'm like, high-performance teams, it makes me think, oh, am I going to have to pressure my team to I got to put more pressure on them, keep on them to be high-performance?
That's not a high-performance team. That is a sluggard team that needs external motivation. So, a high performance team is, you're as a leader, you're trying to run ahead the direction they're headed. But they're highly motivated, and they are inspired by you. It's important. People say, "Well, gosh, I can't." There's nobody wants to work. I can't. There's nobody out there that can want to work. Well, who wants to work for you? Are you followable? Are you somebody that inspires? When you share your vision with somebody, they want to say, "Wow, I'd like to be part of that." So, that's in our coaching. We actually work with people on that. It's just you're having a problem attracting people. You don't attract who you want. You attract who you are. And so. You got to really look at that. So you've got to be part of that team that people want to follow, and you want to set the pace and inspire them. The missing ingredient, though, after you really get them jazzed up for the vision and the future and your work ethic, and don't just tell the way, show the way. That the missing ingredient is this thing called respect. Now, respect is not something I demand. Like, I demand respect. I'm the owner. I'm the boss. No, respect is actually, it comes from a heart of abundance, and it comes from a heart of contribution. And respect is a gift that I give somebody, and really I define respect as valuing the differences without having to agree. Now, in our political landscape, we villainize anybody that doesn't agree with us. As a matter of fact, we call it hate speech, and both sides are just ridiculous with that, and there's not any communication going on. And so respect is valuing the differences. And look, Ben, there's a lot of us that grew up under harsh authority or poor role models. There's a lot of us that have never really been built up as an individual by somebody we respect. There's hardly anybody that we respect just because they're such poor, just living, walking the talk and being a person of integrity. And so, when I talk to somebody and I don't just say good job, that's too general, that's not connected, but I say, man, the way you handled that client, they were bananas and you kept your cool. And at that point, you were just giving them words that just allowed them to calm down. I was impressed with that.
Right.
I mean, I'll follow you to the ends of the earth. That's what we're looking, then, whoa. So that's how respect is explained and conveyed. It's not just pump you up. Sometimes you have somebody has an idea and you don't go with it, but you hear it out. You say, I hear you saying this. Before we go forward on this, here's why we haven't done this. Let's go figure that or something, but just let them know that you're listening to them. You're valuing, even if you don't agree, you value what they're coming from.
100%. I have two thoughts based on what you're saying. One is, have you seen that illustration that's like I'm imagining it as an Egyptian hieroglyph, but it may not be. It might be a stick figure drawing, but it's like a person sitting on top of a giant block of stone, and there's these people pulling the stone, and that's the boss. The boss is sitting on top of the stone, pointing forward, like, you guys pull me this way. And then there's the leader, which is, instead of being on top of the stone, he's in front of all the other people pulling the stone, like leading the way and pulling with them. That's what I think of when you talk about that illustration of like, hey, a high performance team is highly motivated, inspired by their leader, that you need to be out there. I mean, just like what you said, it's like you don't attract what you want, you attract who you are. So it's like being that person and being out in front and being like, okay, come on, this is the mission. I'm going for it. Come with me. Like, that's a total difference than being like, all right, you guys go do this and being the taskmaster. So I definitely see that. And then the other thing you mentioned, I've experienced the same thing with like that respect aspect, which is like, for me, I don't know if you've ever been in this situation, but I know working at like a large company, you have a boss, maybe they're a middle manager or something, and you have ideas on how to improve things. They don't have a lot of power to change things, but you're like, hey, can we do this? And then basically day after day, you're like, I see opportunities for improvement. I have no control over it. And you feel like you're banging your head against the wall. Well, when I founded my company, I was like, I don't want to do that. I want it to be something where I actually listen to people and like you said, like respect them. So it's like, for us, we have like a Slack channel where throughout the week, anybody can drop anything on there. We actually call it Friday. And there's like, you just drop in like a note of like, hey, I just thought about this. Can we improve this system? Can we, this keeps happening with projects where the client doesn't get us content on time. So can we fix this? And then every Friday as a team, we go through the whole list together out loud and be like, oh, so-and-so submitted this. This is a great point. Here, what did you have to say about that? And they bring it up. And so I think it's like that respect of like, hey, I'm not going to just like throw all your suggestion box and throw it in the trash. I'm going to be like, hey, every week, your voice is heard, your ideas are respected. And it's like, I feel like that is such a difference that to me, I'm excited to be a part of a team when I can know that my voice is heard. So,
and it's really important too, as the leader, when you take time for that, it's like, yeah, okay. You're just like, okay, when's it going to be? No, it's at that point that there's coaching opportunities that come up.
Okay.
Because they're trying to solve a problem from a certain perspective, and you, having gone before them or maybe have some years of experience on them, you can expand their perspective and release the creativity of their thinking with an expanded perspective. So, you want to build a high-performance team, and so it is important that you have some clashes. I call progress is the clashing of ideas, and when anybody comes to me with a problem, then they come in the office, or I come to them walking around, and they know what my next question is, well, how do you want to solve that problem? Mm-hmm. So you come to me with a problem, and then come to me with a solution, two or three of them, what you'd recommend. Let me know you've thought about it. And we've done a lot of just our coaches. We've had our coaches, a number of our coaches been with us 4 or 5 years, and they've coached hundreds of clients. They're really good. Some of them are in their mid-20s, and older, but I mean, they're really good because we've had 1,000 of these little interactions. It's not just respect and, okay, Johnny, I hear what you're saying. Oh, gee.
Right.
No, but it's like, oh, wow, okay, I like where you're going on that. Here's a challenge. Boom, boom, boom. Now solve it with this in mind, or So it allows you to expand their thinking where they can begin to think on their own. You're training them not to guess what the right answer is, based on what you would pick, but you teach them how to think through it and solve it for their for themselves.
Wow, I never thought about it that way. That's a good point. Yeah, it's like, hey, when somebody comes to you with a problem, this is a chance to be like, hey, here's the filters that you should maybe consider when you're making decisions. Like, I think about that with us. It's like our team, it's like one of our filters is efficiency, 80-20 rule. Is this 20% of the effort that gives you 80% of the results? Like, think about that, you know? Is this going to be something that's a great customer experience? Think about that. Is this also still going to be a reasonable team member experience where it's not us bending over backwards to make that happen? So it's like, there's probably like more that I'm not conscious of. They're like, there's probably a few things to keep in mind anytime something comes up. If you can teach people to think that way, man, that's like, speaking of a high performance team, that sounds like they would kill it, you know?
Yeah. It's, you know, and I've worked with well over 500 20-somethings, right? Cocky, ready to take over the world. And you don't want to squash them, but you want them to grow up and think and not just get pissed off about stuff, just be critical. It's easy. Anybody can be critical, but okay, what are you going to do about it? You know, I have this saying, she who sees it solves it, you know? So if you see it, what's your solution to it, you know? Mm-hmm. So get off your blessed assurance and show up, man. Jump in the arena and get muddy and bloody, you know? So.
All right, we're going to pause this conversation here. Go to thefridayhabit.com. There you can find show notes for this episode. There you can also find links to our websites and ways to get in touch. At the bottom of the page, you can download our guide to the Friday Habit System that will show you how to set aside one full day each week dedicated to working on your business instead of in your business. If you're not already, make sure you subscribe. If you enjoyed this episode and want to hear next week's episode, subscribe so you get notified. Also, leave us a review in Apple Podcast app or wherever you listen to your podcasts. And if you want to potentially be on one of our episodes with a question you ask us, go ahead and record a quick message in your phone, voice memo, and email it to hello@thefridayhabit.com. Until next time, live every day like it's Friday.